last week, we started writing the menu function for the project. In the menu function, the user had three choices, namely to enter 1, 2, or 3. If the user entered 1, we were invoking the enter all marks of the student to storage function. If the user entered 2, we were invoking the display all reports function. And if the user entered 3, we were expecting the program to close. However, in reality, if the user typed 1, once it invoked the enter all marks of the student to storage, and returned to the menu, the program quit itself. Similarly, if the user typed entered 2, it invoked the display all reports function, but then the program quit. To ensure that the program does not quit, after invoking either the enter all marks of the student to storage or the display all reports, we will use a while loop. This is the new solution for the menu function. Principally, it's got two main changes. One is it introduces the while loop, so that the previous code has been put within the body of a while loop, and we also use a dictionary object to store the entered values. So let's come back to what a while loop is. A while loop, the behavior of a while loop is similar to that of a for loop, except that we use the while loop when we cannot predict the number of times the loop has to repeat. On the other hand, the for loop is used when we can predict the number of times the loop has to repeat before its execution. The while loop uses a Boolean expression which evaluates to either true with a capital T or false with a capital F. In our example, we simply used a Boolean constant true in the expression. Hence, in our example, the while loop is always true. That is, this loop has the potential of repeating itself infinitely. However, to prevent the infinite looping, we have introduced the break statement if the user's input is not 1, not 2. This is written using this else if statement. So if else if kb input is not equal to 1 and kb input is not equal to 2, the break statement gets executed. So break statement causes the termination of the loop. It does not cause the termination of the function, rather it terminates the loop in which the break statement is enclosed. In our example, the break is within this loop, so it breaks out of this loop. So after this, following this loop, there's no other statement, so it also terminates the function in our example. As I said in the beginning, the other change that we've introduced here is to store the value. To store the value, we have used a dictionary here. Now, a dictionary is a data structure which can store key value pairs. So, and the dictionary is represented by a pair of curly braces. So, the name of a dictionary is all students marks. So, this is passed as a parameter to enter all student marks, so that when this function gets invoked, the new values are stored in the dictionary, and this function then returns the updated dictionary, which is reinitialized back to the all students marks variable. Enter all marks of a student to storage function has been updated to include the actual marks of a student. Remember, previously we simply added dummy function with a print statement in this particular function. The details to be entered for marks of a student are the full name of a student, the marks for the discussion forum report, the marks for the project marks, and the marks for final exam. Again, these marks have got to be valid. So the valid marks for the or the discussion forums are between 0 to 20. Hence, we have used this condition to ensure the marks are between 0 to 20. And if the user enters any wrong value, this statement will be false. So if this is false, the break does not get executed, and since this code, this block of code is within the body of the while statement, it repeats itself. So this block of code will repeat whenever the user enters an invalid statement. If the user enters a valid statement, this if statement will be true, that is the marks. Suppose the user enters, say, a mark of 10. So 10 is greater than or equal to 0 is true, and 10 is less than or equal to 20 is also true. So true and true will evaluate to true. So this statement gets executed. So when this gets executed, it breaks out of this while loop, and the control flows to the next while loop, and the same logic gets executed, but this time for the project marks, and the valid range of project marks are between 0 and 30. And finally, we do the same thing for the final exam with the valid range of marks between 0 and 50. Once the valid marks are obtained, they are stored in variables DF report marks, project marks, and final exam marks. So they are not to be treated as one set of marks for one student. So we have introduced a list there and put those three values in a list, where the first item in the list represents the DF report marks, the second item represents the project marks, and the third item represents the final exam marks. And this list is referenced by the variable as student marks. Finally, we have to relate the marks to the name of the student, and this is where we use the dictionary object that was passed as a parameter from the menu function to this function, so that all student marks, which was here, is then reused here with a key full name to represent the name of the student, and we assume the full name of the student is unique, and corresponding the value to that is a student marks, which happens to be a list. So the value is a list, the key is the full name. This updated dictionary object is then returned. Suppose this function gets called again, the dictionary object will contain previous values of student marks, and to which a new set of student marks will be added, and the new value, if the new value of the full name of the student is different from an existing value, the new value would then be stored as a new set of key value pairs in the same dictionary, and the dictionary is returned.